Hello and welcome to this wonderful place that we call Grazing Brains. We created this virtual place with the main purpose of trying to help you fall asleep quickly and enjoyably. We hope that for the following minutes you will be able to take your mind out of the busy and chaotic surroundings and direct it to a guiltless place in which your problems and anxieties are forgotten. We will not solve your problems, but we hope to guide your mind to a different world for the next 20 to 40 minutes. Before starting today's story, please put your phone on mute so you can focus on the present and forget about the outside world. Now, let us all take a moment to breathe. Please get in a comfortable position. If your room is cold, put a warm blanket over you. If you feel hot, open a window or turn a fan on. When you're ready, please take a deep breath through your nose for 4 counts and release it through your mouth for 6 counts and intake for 1, 2, 3, 4, release for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Release for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. While breathing, take your awareness to the sensation of the air passing through your nose and filling your lungs and belly. Feel your belly expand with every intake and flattens against your spine when you exhale. Finally, focus on the sound of my voice or the sound of air coming in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Florence Bascom. Disclaimer: this is a fictional story about real scientists. All the science and historical dates are accurate. However, the events and some of the characters are entirely fictional. Flor, Flor, it is time for supper, dear. Please, come out of that dusty and cluttered room. Flor, dear, shouted Ada. Oh, this girl only cares about those bloody stones, muttered Ada for herself, walking towards the shed. I do not understand how Mr. Bascom allows this to continue. This girl spends her entire time inside, looking at stones from anything else. Why someone will be interested in looking at stones all day? Should get her married and have children. Soon she will be too old, and then what? She will need to work all her life. It is such a shame, and I, oh poor me, need to fetch her every day. I'm too old for such things. Walking on the field. Oh, I do not like this old building, full of dust and smelly stones. Florence Bascom, it is supper time. Your parents are already home, and everyone is getting ready for dinner, authoritatively said Ada, opening the door to the shed. Florence was on the floor. She sat with her legs placed towards one side. Her brown gown was placed under her with her ankles exposed to the air. Her head was a few centimeters away from a light grey stone, illuminated by a candle. "Aye, girl, get out of the floor. Look what you have done with your skirt," cried the maid. "Oh, Ada," distractedly said Florence. "I'm glad you're here. Help me place this ammonite sample on the table, please." "Girl, you have lost your mind, sitting in the dark here. I'm not touching this dirty stone. Come, it is time for dinner, and the supper will be soon on the table." "This is not a stone. This sample is composed of dozens of ammonite fossils. See here, these beautiful spirals of the shell resemble a coiled snail shell. This animal was swimming in the ocean more than 65 million years ago. This species was small and could grow only a few centimeters. Compared with some of their cousins, some could grow a shell over 2 meters in diameter. I know, these do not look very pretty, but these fossils can be found in various colors, including shades of brown, gray, white, and even blue and green. Ammonites are important for understanding the evolution of life on Earth and providing insight into our planet's geological history. It is just a rock, dear. Now get up and come." "Ada, fossils and rocks are not the same thing," passionately said Florence, getting on her feet. "Rocks are naturally occurring solid substances or aggregates of one or more minerals and organic matter. They are formed through geological processes such as sedimentation, erosion, or magma-lava solidification. We can distinguish them based on their composition, chemistry, and texture. We use the rocks for the construction of roads and buildings. Fossils are completely different things. They are preserved remains or impressions of organisms that lived in the past. Sometimes it is the actual remain of the organism, such as bones. As we saw in the American Museum of Natural History in New York, remember the dinosaur? Long ago, the dinosaur was buried and exposed to fossilization processes. Occasionally, the dinosaurs left a footprint that was preserved, and that one is also called a fossil. A variety of ways, such as permineralization, petrification, and carbonization, can form the fossils. If you go outside on a rainy day and step in the mud, you will also leave a footprint, and if no one touches it and it is preserved, humans can use it to study our day-to-day life in millions of years from now. From what I heard, they are both made of stone, so they are the same. It is like saying that rye flour and bread are the same thing. One of the components in the bread is flour, but it also contains water, salt, and yeast. Also, some breads are made of rye flour, but others are made with wheat flour or even corn flour. And why should an old maid like me know such a thing? Why should I know if it does not help me place the dinner on the table or make a new skirt? Even more, why does a girl like you need to know it? Leave the science to the men. My father always said education is wasted on women. A woman needs a good marriage and a bunch of kids. Oh, do not say that, Ada. Knowledge is the most important thing. Where society will be without knowledge? We will still live in caves and eat half-cooked meats. And if it is not the women, the primary caretakers of the future generation educated, how can we be sure that the kids are well educated and teach them to think critically? How one can be sure that someone is intelligent if you don't possess the same or higher level of intelligence? But dear, a woman's intelligence is in the letters, music, and art. You, of all people, should know that. Did not your professor in your art and letter degree teach you that? A well-written letter or played song on the piano, it's such a virtue for a girl. You should have stopped there. I still cannot understand why your father allowed you to continue studying and get this Bachelor of Science. It was in 1884 when I got that one, Ada. So long ago. If you do not like my Bachelor of Science degree, the Master of Science, and especially the PhD in geology from Johns Hopkins University that I got not long ago, must make you feel distressed. You should not worry your weak heart with such things. Sweet, sweet girl, I just want you to be happy and married, and I know that the higher the education of a woman is, the more difficult it is to get a potential partner. Let's not worry about those things today. It is such a beautiful evening. I'm getting hungry, and I would like to hear what Father has to say about the new cohort of students that started this year. While saying this, Florence took her maid's hand and led her out of the shed towards the house. It was a typical evening in Bascom's house. John Bascom, a professor at Williams College, University of Wisconsin, was working on his next book. Mrs. Emma Curtis Bascom was in the drawing room, writing a letter. Jane and George Bascom were sitting in the dining room discussing politics. Everyone was enjoying the last peaceful minutes before dinner. Entering the dining room, Florence felt tired and hungry. She had spent all afternoon cataloging and packing her rocks and fossil samples. Everything would be packed and ready to send to her new home in a few more days. "Where is Mother?" asked Florence to her siblings. "In the drawing room. She wanted to finish a correspondence with the Women's Christian Temperance Union secretary. Something about the new ideas on how to lobby politicians about women's vote. Once a suffragist, always a suffragist. She's so optimistic that women will be able to vote in her lifetime. I just hope she will live and see that day." Jane continued. "I think she will do something whimsical this election." She mentioned Susan B. Anthony's name on the other day. "From where do I recognize that name?" asked Florence, raising her eyebrows. "Oh, in 1872, she voted in the presidential election in New York. Later on, she was convicted for that act and sentenced to pay $100, informed George. "Fine that she never paid," laughed Jane. The food was served minutes later, so the conversation was forgotten, at least for that evening. The supper consisted of cold beef with boiled potato, eggs, cornbread, butter, and some fruits. The family enjoyed coffee and liquor after it. The conversation that night was about the new students' arrival and the prospects of the new semester. "I'm hopeful about this year's cohort of new students," cheerfully said John Bascom. "They're polite and enthusiastic. It will be a great year." "You always say that," playfully answered Emma. "And tell me when I was wrong, my dear," beamingly responded John. Never, I must say." "Oh, I must come to the campus tomorrow. I miss seeing the excited students. It is such a great atmosphere at the beginning of the semester. I miss those days," said Florence, joining the conversation. "Talking about the university, you cannot guess whom I met today leaving my office, Florence," said John, changing the subject. "Someone pleasant, I hope?" "Very, indeed. I met Elizabeth Irving, the late professor Roland, Irving's sister. Such a polite young lady. I was not expecting to see her here. She is visiting and she inquired about you. She requested for you to visit her for tea before you leave. Oh, I was not expecting Elizabeth to return after her brother passed away. I will write her a letter tomorrow. It will be nice to have a word with her. Florence, from where do I know this name? Asked her brother. Professor Irving was helping my master's thesis. Remember? Vaguely, shamefully responded George. He was one of the best teachers this university had. Of course, not counting with you, father. A huge smile appeared on Florence's face while saying this. He was the only professor who did not care about gender in his classes. I sat in the corners for most lectures, hidden by a screen, not to disturb the male students. But in his class, we were sitting in alphabetical order. He believed that education is for everyone and that a woman can do field work as well as any man. It is such a pity that we lost him so young. That is true. He was a delight to be around, agreed her father. The university lost a great scientist. While drinking their coffee, the party split into two groups. Emma, George, and Jane went to play cards and discuss politics and activism, while Florence and her father discussed university matters. "How is your book going?" asked Florence. "Very good. Today I picked the name Social Theory. I know that is a simple one, but we need to stay truthful to the content," cheerfully said John, and continued. "Almost done. Few more corrections, and I'm sending it to the publisher." "That is great. One more for the history." To be honest, I do not know if publishing them is even worth it. I pay more money to publish them than what I make from them, was his reply. "Oh, come on. You love writing them. You enjoy the research and all the process. And if one person finds it useful, it is worth it," Florence encouraged. "You were right. I should not pity myself. I am healthy and with my wits. What an intellectual should want more. You know, I will deeply miss you when you are gone. I will be here for some time still. Let us not get anxious for something that has not happened yet." "That is right. Let us talk about more cheerful things tonight," replied John. "You know, I wanted to talk about something with you," thoughtfully said Florence. "I am all ears." While I was packing my samples, I was checking all of them to see if they match my cataloging, as I always do. I have noticed something interesting though, continued Florence. Some of the samples I collected from one specific place in the Appalachian Mountain do not match what all scientists agree nowadays. What is the problem? Asked her father in a teacher's voice. Nowadays, scientists agree that 2 to 3 discontinuities exist in the region. But you need to refresh my memory on what discontinuities are, child. I studied natural science a long time ago, interrupted her father. Of course, I often forget that you are not all-knowing, smiled Florence. Discontinuity is a boundary between two rocks formation that, due to their nature, could not be next to each other without that boundary. When rocks form in a certain area, they will be exposed to the geological condition of that area and have similar characteristics. There is a discontinuity when 2 or more rocks from different origins are next to each other. Sometimes the discontinuity happens in rocks from the same origin. For example, in a sedimentary rock, which has its layers formed horizontally, said Florence, putting one hand on the top of the other with palms facing the ground. A fault or a joint can cause some of the layers to shift and become vertically, displacing her top hand, pointing fingers to the ceiling and touching her palm to the fingers, which are still in horizontal position. This is called a structural discontinuity, continued with her lecturer. Sometimes the environment will change, and where was the sea will be no more. So the rocks created on the bottom of that sea and protected by the water will be exposed to the sun, wind and rain will start to wear the rocks, taking small pieces each time, making holes in the well-defined layers. We can see it when the environment changes and new rocks will form above the broken ones. This is called stratigraphic discontinuity. My memory is refreshed. Thank you, darling. So, what you said about the Appalachian Mountains and the discontinuities? Well, papers on the region say that there are 2 to 3 discontinuities, but I think that there are more than 5 of them. I contacted one of the authors, but he, unfortunately, said that this is nonsense. And what is your next move? Asked her father. To be honest, I am unsure if it's worth it doing anything. I will need to prove that the authors are wrong. Oh, come on now. The facts are facts, and facts are true. If they do not read the facts correctly, someone owns to show the truth. Yes, you're right, Thank you, Father. So, what is the plan, insisted John. She took her time to answer. I will talk with a colleague in Ohio. Maybe I can convince him to get with me for extended field trip. We can map and study the area and collect some samples, finally said Florence. See, everything is better with a plan in your head, smiled John, picking up a book and putting an end to the conversation. Florence started thinking about the search for the truth in science, so she decided to put her thoughts in writing. When the party of 3 had enough of their cards game, they joined the father and the daughter, each of them lost in their activities. See, Florence, you are going to miss such pleasant nightly activities when you leave, muttered Jane. Oh, I bet you that she will have much more exciting evenings where she is going, discussing science with much more interesting people than us, answered George, not giving time to Florence to respond. Talk about yourself, boy. I consider myself an interesting and knowledgeable person, briskly said John, with a huge smile on his face. Yes, that is true, but you are getting hot and grumpy, playfully answered Emma. Come on, old man, it is late, and you have early classes tomorrow. Time to go to bed, continued Emma. Now you're making sense. I know I married you for a reason, responded John while getting up from the chair. I will excuse myself too, said George. I have early errands tomorrow morning. No, I'm not going to forget to buy the flowers, Mother. Do not worry yourself, quickly continued George when he saw his mother's face. Thank you, my dear boy, said Emma, taking his hand, and walked out of the room after her husband. When the 2 sisters were alone, Jane said, You're going to write to me at least once a week. Promise me that. I want to know everything about your life. I do not want to miss even the tinier details. You hear me? I will, I promise. I'm not leaving forever. I will come back for the summer holidays. I promise, reassured her Florence. I know my desire is to come with you, but I cannot leave Mother and Father right now. I know, said Florence, taking her sister's hand. The 2 girls stayed like this for some time, when suddenly Jane asked, What were you writing so late at night? Oh, nothing too important. It was just a thought about truth and science. Would you give me the honor to share your thoughts with me? Asked Jane. It will be a pleasure, said Florence, and started reading from her diary. The fascination of any search after truth lies not in the attainment, which at best is found to be very relative, but in the pursuit, where all the powers, the mind and characters are brought into play and are absorbed in the task. One feels oneself in contact with something that is infinite, and one finds a joy that is beyond expression in sounding the abyss of science. This is the end of today's story. I hope that the past minutes helped you relax and ease you into falling asleep. If you are not 100% there yet, let us just do a breathing exercise. Count mentally with me your breath intakes and exhales. Concentrate on the counting, nothing more. Intake for 1, 2, 3, 4, and release for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 1, 2, 3, 4. Out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.